it's more about in what percent or proportion you think your work is done. You can consider that something to be, let's just say, a pride of an artist. Of course, I'm not considering myself as an artist that much, but you do see yourself with a pride, uh, in a work you really devoted. It is something that I observed on myself that once it is a work I see potential, I see that something like can reflect on myself or like to show my creativity or like efforts, that kind of thing. I require or like I urge for maybe like let's say 80% of the expectations that I have needs to be made. Of course, some of the stages, uh, for example, like the games, you have DLC. Sometimes we just say that it is the unfinished parts that you delayed to publish. That like that kind of results are acceptable, but I don't accept my uh like my product to be sort of like hollow or something like um we say uh not like uh only with the framework. Like that's something I have to build some part of myself into the product.
Hilarious show.
So that's why you made the decision to go to Toronto. Now, um, so you now have been in Toronto for 3 years, right? 3 years and a half. So, how do you feel about the city? Is it the same city that you felt first time you visited?
Uh, I would say I'm now in Scarborough, so it's like well uh I can say it's a remote area, but it's not exactly what the environment I was thinking about, but I accept that and got used to that. In fact, I'm not very good at social or like that daily communication. So living by myself has one advantage is that I can focus my personal, well, let's say, both for interest and also academic development. It's something which one student can consider to have. It's like um uh um well, meditation room, that kind of sense that you can live with yourself and also um probably it requires some sacrifice in, well, maybe your social spaces or entertainment, but it's quite well good to have some like creativity practice or like uh just
Mm. So the area you currently live in is a suburban area, right? It's not exactly the city center. Um, like as you mentioned, that is not exactly what you imagined. Did you imagine that you would live in a like bustling, hustling city? Is it something like that? Like,
yeah, and I would say that's the imagination of all of the you know students who study abroad.
then you ended up in a suburban area, quite quiet, not many people, not many shops opening on Saturdays and Sundays, something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, the so the experience, I mean, like, when I was in London, I studied in London. I was quite big. They call it the world city. So supposedly there should be everything. There's a lot of people. Um, the university is at the city center, so it was pretty central location, a lot of shops, a lot of people. The problem is I observed this, among many students there, even the locals. They all lived a life that is pretty similar to the monks. Um, and this is partially because they had to focus on their study. They go to the library. They spend a lot of time in the library. In fact, there's 24-hour libraries. So they kind of stay in the library for a long time, especially before the exam seasons. In Britain, they do exams. They don't really do the, um, even for social science, humanities programs, they have the exams. It's usually at the end of the semester. So even if you don't go to the class, it's not a problem because your final score is going to be decided by the exams. But for some courses, they do papers. So it's either exams or papers. And especially before the exam seasons and students are going to be in the library, and you have to make a reservation for a seat in the library. There are self-study rooms. You have to make a reservation for those very early on. But like I remember this one time that I just finished something in the library. I just came out for some food in the local convenience store. They have a lot of Tesco's there. These are small shops, and a friend of mine was going to the library, and so we kind of met each other. It was a very small area. It's a huge city, but it's a small area that we were all in that area. And then she said, like hello and stuff like that. I said hello, and she said, Were you in the library?" I said, "Yeah, I was in the library." I said, "How did you know that?" She said, you had that bookish look. It was like that look that you're very numb, right, by all of the hours you spend in the library. So student life is quite different from, let's say that you immigrate to Toronto as um, you find a job there, you work there, right? It's quite different. It's very, very different. So yeah, like you have to focus on your study, right? Parents invested a lot of money for you to study overseas. I'm pretty sure, I know that you spend a lot of time studying. Um, so So, the area so you kind of, you go to Toronto, you make the decision to go to Toronto because you think, it's a very good city, and also the university is good. The subject area is good, right? Because you like it. Um, how did you like, this so you're studying something about media. Now this is, not really, um, it's not an established subject in high school, right? In high school, you have mathematics, physics, chemistry, all the subject areas. There's no media in high school, right?
Yeah.
Um, so to make the decision to study media means you have to think about it, right? It's not like, that I like mathematics, so I want to continue to study mathematics um, at college, right? So how did you make that decision to study media? Where did you find, like, and you've been studying media for a few years now. How do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, media is actually something gets interact with in our daily lives. So despite it is not a set program or like well something you will learn in school, but you can still observe or interact to know some like operational roles that is in in the media we interact in daily lives, such as the news, like or like the internet, like TikTok, or famous in China, like Bilibili, that kind of thing. One thing that's inspired my like uh inspired me to decided to study in India is that I see creativity or like that kind of potential to share your creativity, your imagination through the media. So the thing is that when I was in uh, high school, like I found myself uh I'm not the stereotypical or like the common kind of that art student, but I do find an impulse or like an interest to study uh in that direction, like of art, of like sharing that's like with the media you can like explore or like spread your influence and to show the world that what you really are, that kind of sense. So it fits my future developments. That's what I want to do, and also my interest in creating something maybe others can see. So that's the direction I was going for. Of course, the reality is kind of different from what I was expecting because my technique for like either for arts and also s- like so we're painting arts and also something like uh media operation, that kind of management is limited because I actually started late. Uh but it it is still that's something I see potential in future development and also brings me like last semester I went to Centennial College to study some technical knowledge and skills by using Adobe, that kind of thing. And it does it does bring me uh it does bring me to a new space.
So the subject area, um, let's say media has different sub areas, right?
Yeah.
Some area sub areas are pretty technical. Like um, image editing, right? Video editing, for example. And some areas are pretty, let's say, critical, right? Analysis, uh, commentary. Some areas are pretty business focused, right? Like media management, for example. So media is a very broad umbrella term and has a lot of different sub areas. When you look at the program's title, media, it's very hard to know what specifically that this program is going to focus on, right? So when you applied for this program, you did some research and you had some expectations and um, like I think the question would be like, you made the decision in high school, you did some research, you had your understanding back then. You talked about this with your family, right? And then you made the decision to go to this program. And then you started investing your time in this program. And then you found out that this program wasn't exactly what you uh, foresaw, but it, had certain elements that kind of improved your abilities in this particular area. So what do you see that the alignment or misalignment of students' choices when they're in high school? They choose what they want to study in the future, but they have to make a decision based on their understanding back in high school, right? Their understanding is not really up to the level, let's say, right? They don't have a full picture. They have a very narrow picture, and they made the decision to go to study at college, uh, perhaps aligned with their interest or misaligned. Like, what do you see this?
Well, personally, that misalignment is also witnessed by myself. Like because when I was in high school, my direction was something like initially the direction was fixed. It's either animation or the film. That's I'm particularly interested in. But it is at this moment, like my family, especially my father and mother, uh, like one lens they established for me is that uh, when you're choosing the subject, um, well, it is realistic, but you should have a view of the let's say um the market. Like you can have an observation in the career you are interested in, or like your chosen subject can be developed into, because ultimately every subject will a person narrow themselves down to a certain career. So when I was choosing or maybe similar to me, like when those students were choosing the subject, is like when we are talking about the potential, it's not only what we are interested in, but also something that's the market will be expected on us. So it's quite a utility reason, but it it does help you to observe that what your interest, what your potential, or like the techniques you currently have can be developed into. So so the mm, and that also comes into the alignment because when we are talking about media, there are mm, a variety of media we are looking at. So which direction, which place you ultimately will place yourself is like the question, well, when choosing the subject you need to consider.
Mm. The so you talked about a few things. What one thing you talked about is goal setting, right? You have to set a goal. Um, your choices must be aligned with your goal. Now, your goal partially has to be aligned with the let's say market, or has to uh, align partially with your future career, right? So there has to be career specs. So you mentioned animation and filmmaking. Um, in China, both are booming industries, right? So
Oh,
obviously,
yeah.
so um, but there are specific areas, and there's an overlap, but there are different areas. But you look into future career prospects, you say animation and filmmaking, they're booming industry areas. And you want to get into those areas. So you set a goal and then you make the decision. Here, what is the most useful program to help me achieve the goals? So that you made the decision to study media, perhaps. Um, the but I think like again, I think my question is, um, to that specific area media, there's a lot of sub areas, right? There's business oriented areas, there's technical areas, there's also more, um, like critical analytical areas, right? Now, your program, it's overtly, I would say, analytical, right? Um, it's, the cultural commentary trend of Western humanities education in that sense. Was that what you expected the program to be?
Well, it's a challenging question because in a way I was not expecting that. I was expecting something more practical, that maybe you are getting to a group like shooting the films or like making the animations in that sense. Uh, well, the truth is, like I spent like first 2 years like studying the theories, like we just talked about the cultural and social commentary, being analytical about what one film or like one existing subject that has that kind of influence. Uh, but indeed, that is one of the uh perspective or like uh the direction that media can go for. That comes into like we say something like the film critiques that you can also apply for if you go in that direction. And also like approaching like the film or animation I'm being interested in. So um back to the question, it is, well, not something I was expecting. But in a way, the university, like the program, or at least the program I've chosen, this did and this provide me with the opportunity to get into like the technical stuff. Like and also it's an booming area where you can learn, uh, develop your interest, through, for example, watching the videos, also, uh, something like studying with uh, some, you know, specialist outside of the school. So, expertise. So, one way I'm thinking of this is that you don't have to limit yourself to the provided subjects or areas in school's program. So, it is also why oftentimes we have that, you know, like uh it's not exactly social communication with the peers or higher level, for example, teachers or expertise. It's sort of you can always find a place to absorb knowledge and also to practice to develop yourself. Uh, uh, in the era we are in.
Mm. So the university provides some kind of foundation, and it also gives you the opportunity to um, work with your fellow students and also your professors, right? And situated in Toronto, there's no shortage of interesting people and interesting events, and also, the internet, right? Like Elon Musk used to say that you can learn anything on the internet. Not to mention the profound influence of AI, right? The fact that you have access to AI completely changed everything. Now, the um, so you got into this program. You expected something extremely practical. You did have something practical in year three. You had your courses in a another college, obviously in the program, but in other college, focusing on very practical aspects of media. But the first 2 years are primarily analytical. It gives you a lot of theoretical foundations for uh, thinking about these subjects. Um, now, the obviously you spend a lot of time studying, you spend a lot of time reading stuff, you spend a lot of time making the videos, the images. Um, so it's very, very hard work, right? Did you foresee that university could involve this much time devoted to studying, this much time? Because a lot of people would say, college is where you have fun, right? Did you have fun?
I would say I did while with sweat and not tear, but yes, I did spend a lot of efforts into the coursework, and as you can see, I stay at home most of the time because I cannot really have the reservation in library. I can't. I just can't get that. One thing is that, pretty demanding in the uh, university, which the subject I'm studying, is that you do need a lot of readings and I consider that something I'm not really good at, um, but predictable, Uh, because before getting to the university, I did foresee that uh, I have to learn the theory to make the better practice, and uh, it will bring I can say burdens, but it does bring challenges that you have to understand, for example, the theories and apply into certain shooting technique or editing techniques to make your product better. Which, uh, that's predictable. But once it comes into the real practice, uh, I would still say that uh, it requires a lot of time, and also you have to think. Uh, like, uh, oh, oh,
It's the old question of how theories can be applied, right? Theories, they're one thing. Once you start shooting, that's another thing, right? There's this. process, right, that you have to go through. Um, and also they say, that shooting, the practice also gives you understandings of theories, right? Because now you realize that theories are pretty rigid. They're pretty, um, you might say, formulated, right? But in practice, everything is flexible, right? Everything is the result of, especially the good products are the results of creativity, right? So that's where your creativity plays a part in applying theories, or maybe not, maybe make innovations to specific, techniques. The so the At the very beginning, I remember that you were very anxious about all of these courses, and things that you don't really understand, right? Um, Techniques, for example, at the very beginning, and also the courses. So, um, like, do you still feel anxious about new things to study in your area? Like, how did you deal with the anxiety that this is something difficult? I know nothing about it, but somehow I have to work something out. Like, for example, your group project, right? So you did a few short films, and at the very beginning, they were pretty loose, right? The ideas are pretty messy, and teamwork problematic, right? Putting things together, how about the time? So there's a lot of things to consider. Um, so how did you deal with those things?
Oh, well, to me, uh, I think that the anxiety that you I was experiencing and probably many other students can experience, it's just common, and accidents just happen. That both in like for example, if it's a group work, your teammates may have those issues, or like if it's about yourself, there may be something you're not good at. That's all very common. So, two things I learned from that process is that first, that anxiety is just normal, and you can express that uh, uh, with people around. Like, uh, it's a process of like express yourself and seek for help. Um, comes into like the common thing that we Chinese always have, that when you feel trapped in one situation, it is true that you are gonna get confused. But when you are seeking for self, like others can observation or like provide you solutions that with potential. So that basically enlightens the path you can go for. Uh, that's something like a part of trial and error, I would say. And also, another lesson I learned is about that. Um, it's it is also it always is always tough at the beginning. For any cases actually. Um, Including like the beginning of the university, that I didn't, there are things I didn't expect it. Uh, I delayed one semester to get into the university, and with some of the options for choosing my majors. Mm, those things all happened and did impact me. But uh the journey, the life, it just go on. And um, it is very important to foresee and, well, like to expect, I would say, to hope something. And you have to vision a better self that should give you a sense of direction, a sense of goal, and uh, where you can go for. Even with some alternative uh, options that you think you can uh, like maybe turn across, but you can still go on that path. It's something that's in metaphor. It's something that's, or when you are making a film, you've found that shortage in, for example, footages or clips, that your budget cannot afford to maybe have more shots. And then you have to think that, well, what replacement, what kind of substitutes, or like using existing clips that to reach the effect um, you want. You know, sometimes it is, at the beginning it is tough, it is challenging to accept something like that. But um, once you have that goal, you have that vision self. It is that enthusiasm or like the motivation that will push you to go along and like go for it further.
Hmm. The second lesson you learned is actually an existential one, right? The existential reality is that life is suffering, life is challenging. So instead of let's say idealize the world as some paradise, you have to understand that all of these challenges are just part of life, right? Um, Challenges at the beginning are especially normal because your skill sets are not up there, right? You don't
Yeah,
really know a lot. So um, there's a saying, I can't remember who said that. It was something like, it's how we respond to different things that really tests our character, right? So talking about character, the uh, lessons you've learned also says something about you seem to know what is the right thing to do, right? Um, I remember a very interesting question asked by the father of a fellow student of mine. Um, so I was visiting India. He was Indian, and I was in the household. Family was very welcoming. But the father suddenly pulled out a book. It was I can't remember the title of the book, but he pointed to the book and he asked me a question. Said something like, Larry, I know that you don't believe in God, right? He was a devout Hindu. So where did you get your morality? How do you know what is right and what's wrong? So that's a very interesting question. I didn't have any good answer back then. So I wonder, you seem to know what is right and what is wrong to you, right? Because seems like most of the time you make the right decision. Um, so how did you know what is right and what is wrong?
oh, well, two important sources actually. Uh, One is that it is always that life experience that will bring you knowledge or like instant solutions to certain accidents. It well, that's why I consider like trial and error is important in both academic journeys and also your daily lives. That's we talk about what is right and what is strategically right. That sometimes you have to balance between something is demanding or it is something like you were forced to accept. So once the accident or like the issue happened, uh the right thing to do is always like of course you can complain, but it's not in priority. It's like to balance a better space that um in a way uh will have more acceptable effect to the future. Uh so of course you have to see further in a way. Uh like to predict if this decision is made, what will happen. If another decision is chosen, like if the other option is chosen, what impact you have to face. So um, basically the thing is that uh well we people always tries to seek for perfection. especially when you are creating, you're forging something. We seek for perfection. But uh, once you have to face the issue, uh, the well, the future, I would say, like the envision you have, the prediction you made, always tells you that to choose uh well less impactful or less negative uh results that you can accept. So that's basically a thing. And also back to the help uh thing, the kind of communication express and uh observation, like help the process like talk about um when you think you cannot handle the issue by yourself, it is always a good choice to seek for others' suggestion. Of course, there are always just suggestions. You have to make the decision. But it is true that sometimes that uh, more objective or critical perspective or less you can gain. Well, sometimes explore the maybe the third path you can go for, and that brings you more potentials or possibilities in terms of the solutions. So, it's true that mm, I have that personality to, you know, to seek for help, but it does, it is important or like crucial that you can have uh, as much path, a- as many paths as possible. That uh,
Mhm.
well,
Uh, the most fundamental question is actually the navigation problems. Like, where am I? Where am I going to? So, the first point you mentioned is basically, that I'm going there, right? So, if you have a very good idea of where you're going to, the future self, that will give you the right direction, and the right thing to do is to follow that direction, right? Now, second thing is, sometimes you're confused, and things are difficult. So, the navigational problem becomes, so where am I? I'm here, but I can't see through, right? So what can I do? So probably somebody can help. Now, obviously you had very good help, from your family. I know that your family, are very supportive, and also you got a lot of, friends. So, talking about family support. Now, this is quite, it's a totally different dynamic in the Chinese family, for the parents to support their children. It usually means more involvement in their decision making. So this is quite different from Western norms, right? Parents are, uh, normally, now we're talking about stereotypes, but you know they they're they they they're normal in a way, right? That Western parents usually leave the decision making to the children, especially when they're old enough. But you're an adult now, right? But your families still involve, compared to Western families, a lot in your decision making, right? So how do you see that? And so, like, do you find it helpful? Do you find it useful? Do you find it, there any, like, what do you think about it? That families play important parts in, the family plays an important part in your, um, educational decisions, perhaps other decisions too.
oh well, it's actually a quite challenging question because my family is not in concepts of traditional family. They support my academic journey a lot, uh, and also provide me with suggestions. Maybe possibly it's rooted in their uh, personal success, that kind of thing. That more experience they have to support their suggestions to have that influence on me. But the central thing is that um I don't consider family members especially parents, will provide you like bad options in a way. Um, they may sometimes tell you like you may need to compromise when you are facing some issues. But it's for your own, and it gives you a sense of being supported. That someone will always hold your back. It is well that supportive um existence uh for me it is important. Like because psychologically I know that they will provide uh plan B or second choice. Uh, and that makes me more fearless to make the first, adventure. Let's just say, um, sometimes I'm there to take the risk, due to that sense of being supported, and also, uh, that that's something spiritual, and also like, uh, in terms of academic journey, uh. Financial support is something I consider that's also being essential and uh, basically something also my parents are devoted. So from two perspectives, like both your rationality and your emotion will tell you that family supports will push you further. And it is important to also respond to their investment, like we mentioned this at the beginning of our conversation. Um, like that, uh, it's sort of like moral instinct that I have that to respond to their investment also give me motivation. That sometimes you have to find an impulse for yourself, and that will push you further. And also, you can put more efforts with that impulse.
Hmm. So, um, I guess you don't feel like your family are pulling you back, right? Because you mentioned family are pushing you forward. So that's actually a very interesting description because I've also heard descriptions from other Chinese youngsters that they're saying that the family are pulling them back, right?
Yeah.
So, from that description, obviously you're in a very, very interesting position that your family support seemed to have been, by and large, a very, very positive force in your development, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, you've been in Canada for 3 years. You're now entering your last year, and you're going to do your thesis, and you're going to graduate. You've mentioned many times in this conversation that the most important thing in your decision making is the future, right? So I don't know how clearly you see your future, or do you have like a very clear plan or just a direction? Like, what exactly do you see your future is?
Uh, in that way, like, mm, so my answer will be like, I don't have a clear vision of myself in future, but I do see many paths or many direction I think I can go for. Uh, mm, in a way, I'm not a person with rigid pursuit in a clear goal, but I do demand for a path with more potentials or possibilities. So in that way, I'm like this point may be different from many others, but uh, like I'm a person who prefer trial and error rather than some rigid uh options that like maybe realistic that we have to take. Um, So, in terms of the future, I think that is mm, is something abstract. Of course, many times I don't have an exact image that I can outline with. Uh, because my techniques, my skills, my theories, like that kind of understanding. are still in a stage of being developed. And to be honest, I'm yet sure like uh which area will be better for me to go with. And but what I'm believing is that you can always go for a T shape, that you can go broader with more path you can choose, and always choose the path you can delve deeper with. And um, we're in a time, in a like era that uh extremes sometimes will bring you better future, like when you both that um more expertise, and also with more like like the space you can develop uh in either the place the in subject you have been studying or you have been developing, or most importantly to me, it's that's where you have that impulse, like for example interest that you can uh go further with. So
I
um
mean, like, education and self-development have always been organic. I mean, in the Chinese, I say conventional wisdom is not organic, but pretty linear, right? Like you said, you do 中考 and then you do 高考, right? There's only one way. So, hence my question was it about the choice, right? Um, but education is supposed to be pretty organic. You develop your skills and um, from the, you know, very beginning, you can't foresee like 100% what you're going to do in the future for many reasons. It's a multifactorial um, world. It's a very complex world. Not to mention AI, right? It's a
yeah.
disruptive factor for all of the stuff that you've been learning. Um, like you've done some very technical things on Adobe, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of it will be replaced by AI pretty soon, right? So social media is also changing. A lot of the content is already created by AI. Not automated, but textual content. A lot of textual content is automated already, right? So you can see that there's disruptors. In the industry, and the industry is going to change. So it's very hard in, let's say, the information or knowledge economy to figure out what you want to do exactly in about 5 or 10 years anymore, right? Because things change too fast. Uh, but is it fair to say that you would still be in media? You consider that your future in media?
I would say yes. And like because you talk about the like the disruptors like AI, it does bring a huge challenge to uh like what I've been studying on, and also maybe some other like areas that we human beings are still exploring. But you know, um uh my personality decided that maybe I'm not going for the extreme, but the goal at my set will be let's just say ambitious enough to support me, to push me, that to not be replaced by AI anyway. Where like sometimes I was joking with my classmates that, well, ultimately that's maybe 100 years later that human beings like these careers will completely be replaced by AI, that kind of thing. The the reality is something like that. But a goal maybe something like the last artist before human being replaced by AI. That kind of thing, that kind of uh innovation you can have. It is still, you know, some something that you can go for. You know, uh, reality sometimes being cruel, but before the doomsday happen, you can always find yourself a place. It is not quite to complain, but you can shine at the last moments, and then lie down, something like that.
This idea, this existential philosophy that you have is pretty much the ethos of Christianity too. The idea that, this is the world that is, that, that is, right? And so you got two choices. One choice is you can complain about it. The other choice is you don't complain about it. You make the best out of it, right? So my question, I think, is where did you get that idea? Where did you get that philosophy?
Hmm, well, uh, it's tricky that I didn't usually think of that. But indeed, one way that uh, I think uh, like the spiritual anchor that I have is from the media I've been interacting with. That we see hero's journey, we see that uh something like moral ambiguity in real life, and you can reflect. So basically, um the film, the stories, the hero's journey I uh interacted with, or like I have uh watched or read, all those things, that is anchored a perfect self inside me. Like something I can envision of myself if I'm in that situation, what I will do, or like if I'm in that place, what I can be. So the thing is, when it is in real life, uh, like what are you going to compromise, or are you going to like something like uh make a tough decision? Maybe it will be tough. It will be like it demands effort. It demands like with a sweat and tear, maybe blood, that kind of thing. But you know, uh, that's idealistic self that you're trying to reach. Is always something I consider to be important and to be pushing forward. Uh, at least the the goal you can have well uh provide you with a direction, or like that fits you better. Let's
S-
say.
so there are two things I was thinking about when you're talking about your experience with social media. Um, First thing is that many people spend a lot of time on short videos, right? You just swipe the short videos, 2 hours are gone. I'm pretty sure that a lot of your fellow students do that, right?
Yeah.
They're so addictive. They just, stay there, 2 hours are gone. You don't have time for reading anymore. You don't have time for, writing anymore. One thing that I noticed about your, let's say, about how you deal with your study is you always finish your work, which is something very, very different because in teamworks, like all of these fake teamworks, pretended teamworks, you always notice there's free riders, right? Some students kind of just don't do the stuff, At the very end, they use AI to put something together and just submit it as their work. But you always do your work, right? So that's something actually quite interesting. Like I'm pretty sure that you also watch short videos. I don't know how much time you spend on short videos, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be 2 hours every day, right? That's going to be, you won't have time for other stuff you do. So the second thing that you mentioned is, this pushing forward, is this forward going attitude, which is very different from the stereotypical description of Gen Zs, right? Um, in Chinese social media, they have a way of saying these Gen Z workers, right? They don't have any work ethics. Their work attitude is, if I don't like it, I'll leave it. I'll leave the job tomorrow, right? Something like that. So there's a lot of complaints from medium, media level managers about these Gen Z uh, new generation of workers, right? Complaining about their lack of work ethics. So you obviously are different. So still coming back to the question, I mean, like you watch stuff on social media, but many people found something else on social media, right? Uh, they found the more addictive, the more dopamine, short dopamine kind of highs. So where did you get like you don't do those things, right? So I'm thinking, like what exactly is the source? How did you not do those things? And you do some of that, right? But not long for prolonged period, and that would jeopardize your future prospects, right? So we might say it's a philosophy, but it's also behavioral pattern. Right? Where did you get that? It's a personality, you might even say, right?
Yeah, I'll say it is sort of personality in a way. I consider myself somewhat like I don't want to be arrogant or that kind of thing, but sometimes it's just hard for me to accept that failure or like
The family? Is it you think it's your family?
um well like I said, my family um they're very supportive uh to my academic journey and also some of my creations. So usually I don't consider themselves like uh preventing me from doing something or like to accept something like secondary choices or like to go well, let's just say a step backward that to have another option like that's not well uh they're always supportive like how could I put this, it's sort of like my philosophy is quite an interesting thing, I'll say. It's about personality. Um, like I said, it's about being if it's the result is acceptable to me. Of course, when we are talking about that, if it's acceptable, it's not about failure or success, that kind of thing. It's more about in what percent or proportion you think your work is done. You can consider that something to be, let's just say, a pride of an artist. Of course, I'm not considering myself as an artist that much, but you do see yourself with a pride, uh, in a work you really devoted. It is something that I observed on myself that once it is a work I see potential, I see that something like can reflect on myself or like to show my creativity or like efforts, that kind of thing. I require or like I urge for maybe like let's say 80% of the expectations that I have needs to be made. Of course, some of the stages, uh, for example, like the games, you have DLC. Sometimes we just say that it is the unfinished parts that you delayed to publish. That like that kind of results are acceptable, but I don't accept my uh like my product to be sort of like hollow or something like we say uh not like uh only with the framework. Like that's something I have to build some part of myself into the product, and that's the like result I consider to be acceptable, not something cliche.
It's definitely conscientiousness is part of your personality. The other part of your personality is, this practical consideration. So there is utilitarianism in your uh, personality, but you wouldn't let utilitarianism. So if you have to prioritize utilitarianism and quality, right? But once you see potential, you have to achieve a certain kind of quality. You wouldn't let utilitarianism jeopardize the quality, right? Um, but that doesn't really mean that, in the process of achieving quality, you wouldn't be utilitarian. Of course, you have to be utilitarian. You need a team to work with you. You can't just shout at them, right? impossible. So there has to be very practical aspects to how you achieve your goal. So it's a balance of both, the demand for quality, not perfection, quality, right? But also utilitarianism. It's actually a very, very potent combination, actually. And this is perhaps why you've achieved, um, you know, very, is it difficult? Have you heard about other people, let's say Chinese students in your department, in your major, getting, let's say that on the dean's list 3 times, uh, you know, because you've been at a university for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So maybe on the dean's list for 3 times. Have you heard other people getting that? The Chinese students too.
Um, rare, I would say. Um, One of my classmates last semester probably got two because I know his GPA is quite high also. But yes, rare, I would say.
So all of these students that you know, perhaps not in your major, getting on the dean's list, including yourself, um, did you think about why they're on the dean's list?
Oh, well, mm, it's quite a challenging question actually. So, there are two reasons I can think of. One is that they really picked the major they are interested or an expertise in, like in a way like they are really good at that, so they can provide, for example, very creative or the points with um really deep insights that is a sure thing that will gain them uh like a high grades and a really good performance in terms of the uh, academic journey, that kind of reflections. Uh, and another case, we might think of because I don't know if that's a common situation, but there's the short. Mm, uh, I hate to say this, but there are some easy things that you can improve your grades in a short term. Of course, it's a compromise, and that's a utilitarian options we can make. Like in 1 or 2 semester, if you feel too pressure, that you can think of like taking easy tasks, take easygoing course that can help you develop with your grades. That's all acceptable. That's the reality. You have to think for your future. But um, you know, uh, the tough things will always come. So uh, I'm yet sure what uh what percentage or like how many people how many students are there like taking the easy task or what
There's
try
I have a course called the bird courses. The bird course, the easy courses, so you can take the easy courses because the exams are easier, and then you can get high scores. Now, in your program, I think I can't remember exactly um, the credits that you have to do a C level or level courses. These are higher level courses. I think probably 12 or something. I can't remember, but you did much more than that, right? So you chose the difficult courses to study. Um, did you do that intentionally or um, like because it's obviously counter the strategy of choosing easier courses, right? That doesn't really mean that from time to time you won't really use that strategy to improve your scores. Uh, but you chose much more difficult courses than required. Is that done intentionally?
uh well, I would say it's a result of balancing actually. Um but yes, it is intentional. Uh in a way, I like challenges, let's being honest. Like I like challenges. I get the sense of achievement after I did something challenging. Uh, that will also forge some of the like academic performance I have. That once you get across that point, you feel being challenged or like you think that is difficult, impossible to do. The result is if you did something good, the dopamine you get is or you can generate. Let's be wrong. You, you generate. I would say it's more than usual classes, and definitely more than bird courses, and that's kind of the sense I want to get. Uh, and also, after experiencing something challenging, um, I consider like it will make my later life, let's not say easier, but more acceptable. Like, like give me a better mood, better, like situation to adapt in, and I can, delve deeper, and maybe in that process, I can even get better, academic performance. You know, it's a gradual stepping.
Mm. The dopamine effect is actually quite interesting because you can watch a 5 second short video and then you get a high in dopamine, right? But that effect is short lived. And so the kind of experience that you have to tackle a complex challenge to achieve a complex goal, right? That is quite different. The dopamine effect is going to be much more long lasting and your satisfaction, right? You get a sense of achievement, and that sense of achievement is obviously um, dopamine rewarded, right? But it's much, much more long lasting. And the psychological effect is that you see that you're able to do very difficult things. So this is very different from someone just giving up on a simple task, right? Or just, seek some easy things to do. Because after you finish doing a very complex project, such as shooting a short video, which is pretty difficult, it's not very easy, especially a good one, right?
Yeah.
That know that you're able to do it. So that training in your psychology is actually quite important. So looking back at the past 3 years and a half, what do you think about this experience?
Mm, well, uh, in a way, I would say, it's actually a path of proving myself. Like, sort of like I feel like I made the right decision. Uh, that goes for both, like the decision to like study abroad, as and also the decision to study like media. Um, it's in a way like uh I consider like my academic journey, and also the techniques I gain allows me um to in a way shine with myself, like, and also to it does prove that university will like lay foundation for your future path. But more importantly, it's like you recognize that personally it is the path you have step on, and also you're stepping forward, and that's what I consider important. Like I do have that sense like I'm stepping forward, and also um like back to the vision I have for my future. Like I I do feel like my like the vision in my mind uh is being like clear. Like not just outline, but I'm feeling the contents, the techniques that can puzzle the things up. So in that way, I would say both my academic journey and also my personal development is being fulfilled or like developed. I know that's a broad answer, but that comes to my philosophy. That
So I mean, like, you graduated from a very good high school. Your classmates went to different places, right? Many ended up overseas. Many uh, are studying, let's say, in Chinese universities. So You kind of, I think you just had a get together, something like that, right? You have that every year. Um, so you kind of talk about university life. You talk about your experiences. So you've been doing that for the past 3 years. So you kind of have this, let's say, sense of a converging experience or diverging experiences with your classmates.
Uh, in a way, I'll say it's quite. Uh, that's actually a tricky question. So in a way, like, uh, we are all going for the various path. Like, some of us studied mathematics, some of us studied physics, and there's the business students. All that path. Like, sometimes we just say that, oh, it's not comparable. Like, because we're on different, let's say, like, path, or not for competition, but in a way, I do see that the converging is that once we get ourselves like into together, um that shared experience, we can see that common points that goes for both, like, what you imagine your future will be, what you imagine, like, what you consider your past, like, well, both, all of us will complain that, oh, I didn't study hard enough in my past, and that made why my, like, current situation is so tough, but everyone is trying to getting better, that kind of thing. You know, n- that is something converging, and also to be with the group of people that you can share, you can see common plate, and you can get into a common sharing Zoom, um, have talk. Um, it's always something that, mm, let's just say that you can play. It's a place where you can take a break, and also to reflect on yourself. Like, uh, that's the path they are choosing, and they feel difficult. What they did, then, like, absorb those experience, absorb those knowledge into your like, future practices. You know, that's a kind of help, or, like, uh philosophy you can gain uh to uh develop yourself. That's true.
Pilots are important, right?
Yeah.
Things to share your thoughts and feelings with, really share your thoughts and feelings with are important. Um, the people at my age, I heard a lot of people complain about, lacking the. In fact, yesterday I was meeting this guy. Um, it's a very, very interesting guy. He had a very interesting life, but he um, talked about that it's very hard to find someone to share this experience. That says a lot about, that friendship is pretty important. Family is pretty important, right? Supportive parents are pretty important. Um, so you're going back to Canada pretty soon, August, right? Uh, you're enjoying the last of your summer vacation at this university. Um, what's your plan for the very near future after graduation?
Uh, talking about that, I still want to push myself a bit, like, because I would say my academic performance is relatively, well, satisfactory for now. So, uh, it, it is reasonable that I can go for some, like, uh higher level university, like, for uh, you know uh like, to delve deeper in that expertise, like, apply for a better university. That's basically the most recent plan. And also, since that is the last year of my university, that I still have the chance to develop myself. I'm still considering sort of like if I can find uh an internship in Canada maybe to have that last push, you know, uh to make the application more, let's just say, not acceptable, but uh with more potential of my future. Let's see. Um,
Well, it is the economic downturn, and reality would be harsh. Reality is harsh on everyone, right? But with your performance, with your achievement so far, I think you're definitely on top of their considerations. So hopefully that you will find the internship that you want. You're also working on your thesis very soon, right? So hopefully that will also go well. And um, your plan to continue education, to continue um, to delve deeper into your particular area um, at a very fine university, I think, that will also go very well. So I hope that all of your future endeavors will go well. And it's always very nice talking to you. And I hope that I've learned a lot about, because we talked a lot, but I've never really, we've never talked about yourself, right? About your thoughts and stuff like that. It's more about subjects, right? Subjects. So it's very nice talking to you, and I hope that in the future we can talk like this again. Um, and I hope that your experience would also help inspire the Chinese students to study overseas, to find their dream and to realize their dream. Okay, I think that's that, and I wish you all the best of luck.